I recommend viewing my Yume Nikki review before this one, as this game is very similar to it, but it is not required. This video also will not feature any spoilers, as this game is almost impossible to spoil. Yume Tuki is an ongoing collaborative Yume Nikki fan game, first released in 2007. It has been steadily worked on by a large amount of different developers over the years, and is still actively updating. It is also, in my opinion, a lot better than Yume Nikki. The game follows a woman of indeterminate age named Uratsuki, who, much like Madatsuki of the original game, refuses to leave her apartment. As with the original, the only things you can do in the waking world are play several games on a console she owns, save and do various other things on her computer, and go to sleep, which lets you access the rest of the game. As with the original game, the plot of this is highly interpretive, but to an even higher extent than the original, as this is a massive collaborative project. There are occasional motifs you can find throughout the game, but the majority of it has no meaning as far as I can tell, or at least no cohesive meaning. This is not a downside though, in my opinion. Apart from the minigames and the computer I mentioned earlier, the main gameplay of the game comes from going to sleep. Much like in the original, doing this allows you to enter the dream world, where, using a large nexus full of doors that lead to unique locations, you can explore an absolutely massive interconnected world. The original game had around 40 locations. In comparison, Yume Tuki has approximately 1,300 unique areas, most of which are much larger than the ones in the original. This means the game has practically unlimited content to explore, which is quite neat. The main gameplay is the same as the original. You explore surreal areas searching for effects, which lets you transform into different things, some of which having useful abilities you can use. You can also find wallpapers, which you can use in the aforementioned computer for a different background. The game can be completed in a number of ways, but the primary one is obtained by getting all the effects, though I won't spoil what else you need to do. However, getting the endings is not really the point of the game, as the primary objective of the game is just to wander around and explore all the neat, surreal areas present in the game. This is very fun. In my opinion, the areas are generally of a higher quality than the ones in Yume Nikki, in terms of size, content, and looks. There are also, as mentioned previously, way more areas, which adds a severe degree of replayability to the game. It is way more fun than it should be just wandering around trying to find new areas. The art in the game varies in terms of style and quality, but most of it is pixel art akin to the previous game. It generally looks quite good, with no areas that I've found so far that are outright bad looking, though I'm sure some exist. And the really pretty looking areas are pretty amazing to find. And I do mean find, as some of the best areas require you to traverse around 15 other ones first. There are also some quite disturbing art you can find in the game, though not nearly as much as in the original. This game is generally lighter and less unsettling than the first. The music in the game is also quite good. Similar to the original, most of it is short 3 to 10 second loops that mostly serve as atmospheric ambiance. This works quite well in the game though. There are also an absurd amount of songs here, as is likely evident by the amount of content. The soundtrack is less consistently memorable than the original in my opinion, but still quite good, and there are some pretty fantastic tracks present here. In conclusion, Yume Tuki is a really good fan-made sequel. Though lacking some of the original game's atmosphere, it is much, much larger and more content-filled, and in my opinion, generally better than the game it's based on. If you're wanting to play this, which I highly recommend, I would suggest playing it through Yume Nikki Online, which I will link in the description. It's an online port of most of the most famous Yume Nikki fan games, including this and the original, with a handful of quality-of-life features, along with letting you play and chat with other people, though this is optional. It is currently the best way to play it, in my opinion. Anyways, thanks for watching.